Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Let's take a look at the headlines. 2013 Deepwater bid round closes as 3 companies bid for 2 of 7 blocks offered. And Prime Minister inspires change at an International Women's Day function, focus being women who have left an indelible mark on society. Top of the news. The Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs closed its 2013 Deepwater bid round at 3 offers being made for some of its blocks located in the southeast fields off the coast of Trinidad.
The Deepwater bid round for 2013 closed on Friday, with BHP Billiton, Repsol and BG placing bids for 3 of the 7 blocks offered. In making his remarks to stakeholders in the energy sector present at the closing, Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine commended the companies for their renewed confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago sector. This year marks the 2nd consecutive year blocks have been put up for interest by the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs.
Today's bid round, of course, as you would appreciate, the blocks that went out in 2012 were blocks with probably the best prospectivity. So that bid round attracted quite a lot of attention. We have gotten bids today from three bids on 2 blocks, and those bids have come again from the incumbents in Trinidad and Tobago, Repsol, BG, who is here with us today, and BHP Billiton. So it continues to demonstrate the confidence that the incumbents have in Trinidad and Tobago's deepwater play. What it says is that we continue to move forward with the deepwater agenda in Trinidad and Tobago, and clearly BHP has a great interest in those southern blocks for some reason, and I think I know the reason, and many of us in the room know what the reason is, who are the geologists in the room, based on what they are seeing out there in that deep water.
The bid round saw the TTDAA-3 and TTDAA-7, both located in the southeastern waters of Trinidad and Tobago, receive offers. It's expected that later this year, the bids accepted will be confirmed. Minister Ramnarine explained the process leading up to selecting the right party to enter into the production sharing contract for the blocks.
With regard to deepwater, where do we go from here? Well, we have until the 30th of June to evaluate the bids that have been received and to make the announcement. That sounds like a long period of time, but it's not, because of the number of stage gates that we have to go through. Of course, the ministry has set up a technical evaluation committee, which is chaired by the Chief Technical Officer, and that committee then reports to an oversight committee, which is chaired by the Permanent Secretary. That committee then reports to the Minister, and the Minister takes the recommendations of the committee to the Standing Committee on Energy, and then the Standing Committee on Energy takes that to the Cabinet. And then the production sharing contracts have to be finalized between the parties.
The minister explains that while this will most likely be the last bid round for some time, as the ministry embarks on survey and restructuring for its clientele, he adds that in coming weeks, the finance bill will be laid in Parliament, seeking to include further incentive for investors looking to get into the energy market here in Trinidad and Tobago.
I want to commend our 3 incumbents, Repsol, BG, and BHP, for the continuation of the faith that they have demonstrated in Trinidad and Tobago. In a few weeks' time, next week Friday I believe, we'll be debating the finance bill in the Parliament, in the House of Representatives, and hopefully it wouldn't be as confrontational as the debate today. But it's inside of that finance bill, approximately 1/3 of that bill relates to the energy sector. And inside of that finance bill are restructured capital allowances for companies that operate in exploration and production license regimes. And that is going to incentivize a lot of exploration. We have now put the capital allowance for exploration at 100%.
The bid round was launched in August of last year and were described as oil-rich fields as having geographical structures ideal for exploration. Kimberly Calawan, News 4.
More news after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessor hosted an afternoon tea party at the Diplomatic Center in recognition of International Women's Day 2014. In honoring many women who have left an indelible mark on society, the Prime Minister used the opportunity to uplift her comrades in continuing their efforts in building the society.
It's been a long way coming for women across the globe in attaining equality and rightful respect in their various communities. In recognition of this, the United Nations has made women's rights part of its mandate to ensure they receive this while advancing and proclaiming their mark on society. Each year, this is commemorated on March 8th. This year's theme centers around inspiring change and celebrating women as a catalyst in social, economic, and political spheres. To mark the occasion here at home, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessor held a tea party at a diplomatic center where women from a wide cross-section of society came together for a time of reflection and upliftment. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessor, in honoring women who have trailblazed parts in their respective fields here in Trinidad and Tobago and have added value to society by doing this, says there is a greater need to celebrate one another and continue upholding efforts to make a difference.
Let us celebrate each other and make sure you are not the silent friend. You know, they say when things are going good, you don't really hear from anyone. When things are not so good, everyone adds their piece to it. So let us do it. Let us celebrate. I spoke of this recently at a function, Women's Day function at the Hyatt, that we need to celebrate the small things and the happy moments. And let us, minimize the negative. So do not be the silent friend. I ask you, please, as you've done here today, thank you, Hazel, thank you, Diana, thank you, Marlene, thank you, Stephanie, thank you, Kay, thank you all. Let us hold hands together as friends. And so,
while the tea party served as one to uplift women, Prime Minister Persad-Bissessor says the day serves as one that should also provide enlightenment to our male counterparts. She made reference to this equality even as members of the Child Protection Task Force presented its report to the Prime Minister.
When we talk about upliftment of women and empowerment of women, and we know it is important, and the reason why, I think the MC, she said, they said, well, you're going there to bash the men, and it's a women's event, and we're going, no, it's not. We understand that we have more work to do because women have been discriminated against and disenfranchised for so long. So there's so much more to do to uplift and empower women. But at the same time, we must not let that override our duty and obligation to also uplift and empower our boys and our men.
In celebrating the many achievements of a woman here in Trinidad and Tobago, several ladies who have spearheaded change over the years at home came together to honor and offer their encouraging words in a video montage at the event to the one female that continues to stand and make many proud, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessor.
When I describe her as a transformational leader. That's the leader that is taking you from where you are through the steps to where we have to go along the road, which may have challenges, but which you are prepared for.
There's this whole thing about us women being our worst enemies, and you see it's so true, time and time again. And the thing is, as a Prime Minister, is no different. Okay, so she's at the highest rung, but she still will be criticized. She still will be criticized harshly by other women. And I feel that as a nation, we need to support her more, especially the women of Trinidad and Tobago.
I find that whenever we run into problems in the Child Protection Task Force, if I call the Prime Minister's office, she makes sure things get sorted out. And to me, this means that she really is genuinely concerned about children in the country. It isn't just a knee-jerk reaction to the recent spate of child murders, because it goes way beyond that.
Acknowledging this support, the Prime Minister expressed how much these sentiments meant to her and what it is to be a woman and a head of government at the same time.
As Prime Minister, mother, yes, as a mother, decisions are not very hard to make sometimes. Grandmother, they're not. But when you have to run a country, sometimes you hurt other people. But I come back again. that you must look at the bigger picture and the greater good and not the individual good.
Kimberam Kalawan, News 4.
Meanwhile, the second report from the Child Protection Task Force was presented to Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar during the tea party hosted by the PM at the Diplomatic Centre. The task force, which is chaired by Diana Mahabir-Wyatt since its establishment in 2010, recommends that 32 persons be added to staff to assist in its effective functioning. An agreement has been met with the National Security Ministry to establish a separate unit in the police service to deal with child protection and family violence. The task force has also proposed to government the establishment of a children's ombudsman as part of the child protection structure and youth justice system. Ms. Mahabir-Wyatt says this will ensure that children are tried in the court of law as children and not adults for criminal behavior. It's expected that by September this year, additions to its staff will be made. Sports is on the other side. Meanwhile, stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Cricket features in our News 4 Sportscast. Chris Gayle set them up and Darren Sammy knocked them down as the West Indies romped to a nail-biting victory at the T20 World Cup in Bangladesh. Wayne Cunningham has the highlights.
Put up a challenging 178 for 8 in their 20 overs, with 45 from Glenn Maxwell and 35 from Brad Hodge being the top scores. The wickets were shared among the 5 West Indies bowlers, with Sunil Narayan having the best figures of 2 for 19 in his 4 overs. The run chase started well, but the Windies lost Dwayne Smith in the 5th over with a score on 50. Chris Gayle hit a 35 ball 53 before being out in the 13th over with a score on 101.
Doesn't hit it clean. I wasn't sure if he was asking the umpire if it had carried.
Only 6 runs were added before Lindell Simmons departed for 26.
I might find the fielder here. That is a tremendous catch. It's Maxwell here, there, and everywhere today.
Marlon Samuel and Dwayne Bravo occasionally found the boundary and over it with some attacking shots.
Go over the boundary. Mitchell Stark was a man, 2 minds there whether to actually dive. That's up in the air. It's a short boundary. And it's into the crowd. So this is turning out to be a good over. A boundary earlier, now 6.
With a score on 130, with just 21 balls remaining, Samuel fell to a fantastic catch by Brad Haddon behind the wicket. And the Aussies must have thought they had the game in hand. But Dwayne Bravo was still there, timing the ball well.
It's gone many a mile into the crowd. That's a biggie. And 11 of the over, 137 for 4. That's well struck. And that's one of his favorite areas, inside out, over extra cover.
Captain Darren Sammy joined him, and he also took the fight to George Bailey and his men.
6 of the first ball. And this game has come alive. The West Indian dugout know it, the crowd know it. Already hit a 6 in this over. Oh, what a flick that is. That is typical West Indian.
Super shot, but right, it's not. Look at that, looks like a dance. That looks like one of your dance moves, Ralph.
Well, this is Calypso cricket at its best.
Mitchell Stark came in for some harsh treatment in the penultimate over as he was pummeled for 19.
This time he'll find the boundary.
James Faulkner had a lot to say about West Indies before the match, and he was given the responsibility of bowling the last over for Australia with 12 needed for victory. He looked like doing the job, starting with 2 dot balls.
Well, he gets away with a dot. And bowl full like that. Excellent bowling. Very good bowling this. 2 dot balls to start, just what Australia needed. 12 needed from 4.
Sammy then dealt with that.
It's 6. Just clearing long off.
Just giving Jimmy Faulkner a rap about saying how much he loves being in these situations. He bowls the big rank full bunger. Sammy spanked it. Oh, it's back.
Faulkner silenced as his fourth delivery went sailing over the ropes for West Indies victory.
Runs away towards the dugout. What a finish this for the West Indies.
That win put the regional team atop Group 2 with just one game to go in the group stage. That's versus Pakistan on Tuesday. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
Nail-biting victory indeed. Thank you, Wayne. More news when we return. Welcome back. Printery has unveiled its new logo for the International Conference and Panorama, which takes place from August 6th to the 9th, 2015. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Anthony Carmona, unveiled the logo with Printery President Keith Diaz at the National Academy for the Performing Arts.
The International Conference in Panorama ICP, which will be held from August 6 to 9, 2015, will deal with the topics such as the history and development of Pan, the science of the instrument and the applications used, and the recent developments of the instrument. University of the West Indies St. Augustine Pro Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Clement Sankat, is the patron of the ICP. While delivering a brief message, Professor Sankat said the partnership between Printery and the UWI St. Augustine campus is a very neutral one. He said it's a partnership defined by synergy, collaboration and mutual respect for promoting our culture and our heritage through the national instrument, the steel pan.
It is a partnership which has had its roots in our deep pride for our indigenous art of music and the pivotal role it plays in shaping our national development. UWI St. Augustine campus and Printery are steadily working together to deepening our partnership through a memorandum of understanding related to the areas of steel pan manufacturing and the International Conference and Panorama. I'm very pleased to note that Printery has already set up a steel pan manufacturing facility in collaboration with our Faculty of Engineering.
Printery's president, Keith Diaz, said the unveiling of the logo speaks of another bold and measured step along the road which leads to a place of success.
The significance of today's events must not be lost, neither must it be treated cavalierly. The unveiling of the logo, which presents the facts of the International Conference and Panorama, is for us at Printery a profound moment. This moment speaks of another bold and measured step along the road, which leads to a place of progress, a place of satisfaction, to a place of success.
Meanwhile, as he later delivered the feature address, Dr. the Honorable Lincoln Douglas, Minister of Arts and Multiculturalism, said his ministry was ready to stand with Printery in this venture in anticipation of only the highest level of excellence as is deserving of the national instrument. The minister also challenged the executive of Printery to prove to the world that the body is the world governing body for pan.
If we want to be world leaders for the steel pan, then we must learn and master the language of the world. Timeliness, high levels of organization, and the application of technology to everyday business operation is standard. We must create a standard. We must create a brand. The best thing, whatever you call it, we in Trinidad and Tobago must be it. So I challenge Printery to realizing these ideals, and expect that I'm expecting that this international conference and panorama will represent a definite move in the direction of high levels of management and leadership in the steel pan sector. Printery must be what they say they are, the world governing body on steel pan, pioneering and implementing ideas.
Felicia Wilson, More News 4.
Moving a Printery is no easy task, especially bearing the size, weight and intricacy of some of the machines. In fact, it's a task that would have been quite impossible without the cooperation of various stakeholders. With this in mind, the commissioning ceremony of the relocation of the government Printery took place at Frederick Settlement in Caroni. It celebrated 140 years, still printing strong. According to Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Public Utilities, Ms. Jacinta Bailey-Sobers, the decision to move the government Printery from its old headquarters on Tragwit Road was made more than 2 decades ago. She says for many of the staffers of the government Printery, this moment had added significance. Ms. Sobers adds those who saw the old Victoria location as home away from home for more than 30 years, the move was perhaps comparable to them moving from their homes in a childhood village to an alien town.
To those of you who may fall into the latter category of persons, I want to say to you that in life we are in a constant change of adjustment. And in time, these new premises will become your new home away from home. And you will still have your cherished memories of Victoria Avenue and the strong relationships which will develop there to impact the new environment here and to shape it in a way that is positive and beneficial for all.
Minister of Public Utilities Nizam Baksh says the mandate carried out by the government Printery is an extensive one that provides support to almost every government ministry and related agencies, divisions and offices.
The journey to this point was long and in some cases challenging, but we are here today to give thanks and to celebrate and to say to the government printer and his dedicated staff, thank you. And to welcome to your new place of business.
The minister says while the move for most was a welcomed change because it represents a more comfortable and appealing workplace, yet for others it was disruptive and somewhat painful.
The Printery, you see, is a family in more ways than one. Siblings, parents, cousins, and family friends have worked together for decades, printing and binding books and government documents. And so the building on Tragwit Road holds over a century's worth of fond memories. These memories, I'm sure, will live on in their hearts, but I'm sure we will all agree that the government Printery had outgrown its old location and the time had come for change.
Minister Baksh says that may sound simple, but when one thinks of the different documents and forms that is needed for the smooth and efficient running of a country, one begins to realize the extent to which we as a society is indebted to the government Printery.
And indeed, that change has come today. Change in the form of modern, purpose-built physical facilities that are spacious, comfortable, and fully OSHA compliant.
The Printery, since established in 1873, has been tasked with the responsibility of providing reliable printing, binding, and related services for the government and public. Government printer Michael Lal Bihari, delivering remarks on the occasion of its 140 years anniversary, says the commissioning of this building is a welcome step in the development of the government Printery, an organization that in itself is a heritage organization.
I must boast that over our 140 years of service, we have never failed to deliver on time. We were called out to work on Christmas Day, New Year's Day, weekends and public holidays, and even during the various curfews and state of emergencies.
By providing members of staff with a more modern and spacious facility, he says, they hope that it provides the impetus and camaraderie when it comes to the realization of their mandate. Mr. Lal Bihari says the relocation of the building was a complex one that required careful planning, and even more careful execution. And that story brings us to the end of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Thank you for joining us.